So, hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, I got another special project. En dat will be this Strungerschuts 3 Ausführung G. And I got it for free, and it needs to get some restoration. As you can see, someone started on it, and I have also the rubber tracks for it and a few other parts. So in today's video, I will mainly focus on restoring this tank. And first thing I do is removing the upper hull from the lower hull, and I'll try to get the gun in place. Normally, I will get a metal gun barrel for such a project, but at this moment I do not have so much money, so I'll use this gun barrel. And it is also not bad, so we can use it. So, just as you saw, I put the gun inside, and now I will need to sand off the sides of these pieces, because someone super glued them, and then I'll glue them together with some extra thin glue. Getting these pieces together was very difficult for me because there were no connection pins, because someone removed them. And after a few tries, everything looks just as it should be. So now I'll fit everything together and look if everything is just as it needs to be. The two hull parts are very difficult to get together, and especially if you have a gun that you need to align properly in the gap. Now I'll go and I'll glue a few parts that broke off earlier, like this shield. Probably I'll get an MG, I'll put it in the shield, and also I'll probably get a soldier that will be shooting it. I think he'll look very cool. Now I'll go to the running gear, because here we have still a few parts that need to be removed or glued again. And I start with this thing, and this is to hold the drive sprocket in place. So I just glue it in place, and it is very difficult to get it aligned because it has a very strange shape. And after it, I got to the other part of fixing my running gear, and that was a broken off idler wheel. And I'm sure every one of you guys will have it if you are modeling, so it is something worth to pay attention on. So get a piece of copper wire and cut it into a not too long size, but it does not need to be also short, because if you get it too short, it will be just not holding everything nice in place. Then heat it up and put it into the tank, then heat it up again and put it into the idler wheel. It will take you some time to get the copper wire very hot and get it melted into the plastic. So this is why I did it off camera, and it took me around 15 minutes. But this technique is very effective, and then you will probably never break your drive sprocket again. So this is how it looks. And I can tell you guys, it is not bad, and it is also not very difficult. It only takes some time to get everything hot and nice. So now I can go further and do a few more things. So some of you guys maybe know me, and I really like to add some useless modifications, what I'll do right now. And first thing I'll do is remove some not needed parts, like these parts that you can see on the sides. First plan was to do a lot of concrete, actually concrete everywhere, and some sloped armor on the back. But a friend of mine, Charlie from the Sprue Gates modeling, did tell me just to make a simple finish stug that will be with concrete armor on the front and some log armor on the sides. What I will also do, because I think they look pretty nice. I will maybe show you a picture somewhere here if I don't forget it. And then I'll do some other stuff on the back. You'll see actually in a minute. A thing I also like to do is removing fenders, because personally I hate fenders, and some of you guys maybe know it already. So I always like to remove them. Some tanks look nice with fenders, some not, and the stug looks pretty nice with fenders, but still I will need to remove them to add some modifications. It is always very difficult to get fenders off the tank, but once you get them off, the tank will maybe look better. In some cases it will maybe look even worse, but the stug does not look very bad without fenders, as you will see also in a minute. So here I have it, the stug without fenders. It looks not bad, as I said, but I have this huge hole here, and that was not made by me, but just by Tamiya. And if you make a lot of Tamiya kits, you'll see that they put holes in their kits a lot, what I don't like, but it is easy to fix. But first thing I need to do is glue the lower hull to the upper hull together, just so everything will be strong and nice. It is also not a bad idea to hold your tank with clips in place. Don't use too strong clips, because then you will just squish your tank, which will be not so nice. And I did leave it in this position for an hour or so, and now the glue is completely dried and it looks nice. There are a few bigger holes that I will need to cover with some polystyrene sheets, and also a few with a smaller width, so I will be able to fill them with putty. But the first thing I will do is fill those big holes with some styrene sheets. Styrene is always pretty cheap. I can buy it in my local model shop for €2 for a very huge sheet, what is very cheap. And the model is already glued, so I was using super glue to get everything nice in place. Before we go further, I want to show you this stug. As I said, it is a stug aus G, and it is how it looks from the inside. I got it just from a game War Thunder, probably everyone of you knows it. And here we can just check the thickness of the armor and how it looks inside. At the front it is mostly 80mm, 30 on the sides, 30 on the back, and around 20 on the top side. So this tank has pretty nice armor, but I still want to improve it. And I did fix those holes here, and now I can go with the concrete. I also left the front fenders in place, just to have the concrete on nicely. For concrete I'll use some 2-component epoxy putty. First, I was using a green stuff epoxy putty, and that was a few months ago, but someone told me to use Milliput, and that was a friend of mine, and I think Milliput is great. It is not a promotion, but personally I think it is just great, and it is also pretty cheap, what I also pretty like. So yeah, I think it is great to listen sometimes to your friends, because some of them can give you very nice tips. So basically now I can prepare the concrete. You basically cut off 2 the same pieces, and you need to mix them together. At the beginning it is a little bit difficult, but then it will go better. And also remember to have everything the same color, so the putty will dry completely, and it will be just nice. So mix it up for a few minutes. And now, after I mix them properly together, I will add some concrete onto the tank. Also worth mentioning is to not make too much of this putty, because if you make too much, a lot of it will turn into trash. And trust me, you really do not need to have a lot of putty to make some concrete on your tank. And you can always make extra putty, so make some smaller amounts. And what I do is basically push this putty into the tank with my fingers. It is really easy to do, and I think even a 5-year-old will be able to do it, so This is one of the easiest steps, and I really enjoyed doing this. I think you can see how I did it. Now, I just took a very old brush and I'll stipple on some concrete texture. If you look at some pictures, you will see that the concrete has a very rough texture, what is really easy to recreate with an old brush. Now, what I can do is fill up all the big gaps that are left with some excess putty that I have. It is really easy to do, just use your hobby knife and smooth the putty on the surface. Don't worry about if you add too much of it, it is really easy to get it off. It is just important to fill all the gaps in, and don't forget to fill also the smaller ones in, because everything is visible on the end if you paint the tank. But I think overall it looks great. And also add always a little bit more putty than you need, because it is easier to remove some excess putty than to make always new putty and mess around. Now I'll take some I-beams that I bought in the model shop that I have close to my house, and then I'll put on some log armor on it. You can also make those I-beams using 3 polystyrene sheets, but it is always easier to buy them in store. Of course, if you want to be creative, you can create them by your own. Now I sand the surface smooth and I'll glue these guys in place. You need to do it on two sides if you want to have a tank that looks the same on two sides. So I got these I-beams in place and they look not bad. Now I'll create some log armor. It will be standing on these I-beams and it will look also great. So now I can take my side cutters and cut everything into size. Wood is a little bit difficult to cut with your side cutters, but it is not impossible. And after a few cuts you can break off everything. Also the wood looks very nice and it is also very easy to shape. If you have some very thick sprues, you can also use some sprues to make this log armor, but I had these very thick wood things laying around on my desk, so I will use them. And now, of course, we need to get everything into a nice shape, and we can do that by using a hobby knife and scribing it onto the surface. If you look at some wood logs, you will see that they are not perfect. So here you also do not need to be perfect, and if you cut off too much, it is also not so bad. So I did turn out making quite a few of these logs, a few bigger ones and also a few smaller ones, just to have some variation. And I'll superglue them all together, but not to the tank, because I want to have them easier to be painted. And I superglue them laying on the tank, but only together, so they'll be not glued to the tank. What is worth mentioning, because I'm pretty sure many of you will superglue them to the tank, what will be very difficult for the painting. So the log armor looks like that, and I think it is pretty cool. And those sections are removable, so it will be very easy for the painting. I think personally the tank looks just very cool with these logs, but there is something still missing, and that is some wood texture, and you can create it by using a very old brush and some putty. There are a lot of putties out there. You can use some Tamiya putty, Mr. White putty. Just get something that is cheap, because you will see not so much difference between them. And just stipple it up on the wood. Some putties will level them out themselves, so you'll need to stipple them again after a few minutes, just so you'll get this very rough texture. But overall, it is very easy to do. And while the putty is still drying, I remove all the imperfections on the tank. I mean actually the excess epoxy putty that I did put on it, because I did put a little bit too much, which is also better because I can sand it off and then we'll have no holes on the tank. And now when I did sand off all the excess putty, I will start doing something on the back. And I just want to have a lot of storage on the tank. So I will make a construction whereon I will be able to place some boxes and guns. First I need to remove all the pieces that are in the way, and then I'll make a construction with some balsa wood planks and hardwood planks. You can get them in model shops and they are pretty cheap. It depends always on what you like. Personally, I like balsa wood and hardwood. Most people prefer balsa wood because it is very soft and easy to cut. And some people prefer hardwood because it is very hard and it will not deform so much. I like both, and you need to glue them with super glue. So don't use plastic cement because that will not work, and also not PVA glue because that will dry for a few hours. So just use some super glue. You can get a very cheap bottle of it for maybe $1 or $2, and just make a construction like I'm doing. Sometimes I also really like to use some sprues. I have actually a lot of sprues laying around on my desk and everywhere actually, and I really like to use them because they are for free and you can just make a lot of stuff with them. And they are also mostly soft, so you can bend them a little bit, and if you want to bend them very hardly, you can use some fire for it. So now I'm done with the construction for the storage. As you saw a few minutes ago, we have here the ammo storage, and there we have almost no armor, so I'll add a little bit extra armor on the top, just to protect from the planes. For that I'm using a polystyrene sheet, and I'll burn it a little bit, just so it will be very soft, and I bend it around this corner. Now I can get some super glue and glue it in place. So now the last thing for the video, and that will be fixing these tracks. And there is only one thing wrong with them, and that are those pins. Some of them are not greatly removed from the sprues, so they have some of these pins left, and they are very easy to remove with some side cutters. Now I can get the tracks and put them on the suspension. It is not really difficult. I did build a few Tamiya kits with these rubber tracks, and normally it is very difficult to get them on, but on this Stug it was very easy. Those pins just popped together and the tracks stay in place. All the other tracks that I had were almost impossible to assemble, but here I don't even need to have some glue, what I really like. And on the end, I think the Stug looks pretty nice. I also need to add the tracks on the other side, and everything will look just great. So yeah, that'll be it. And if you are still watching, huge thank you. If you did enjoy this video, please subscribe, and if you are already subscribed, huge thank you. Again, I think this Stug looks pretty nice. In one of the next videos I'll add more storage. I'll probably get also some figures for it, and it'll look 10 times better. Personally, I think it was a very quick build. I was able to fix everything in 2 days, and I was working for, I think, 5 hours. So huge thank you if you are still watching. This is, by the way, the comparison of this Stug to me. It is a pretty huge tank, and it is also one of my favorite tanks. And as I said, I got it for free together with 3 other models, what was very nice. So you'll see a few more restorations in the future, and I have many more models left in my storage to restore, so you'll see many more of these videos. So now what's left is just to add some figures, storage, and paint it. So thanks for watching, and bye!